I'm talking with Steve Dyke, who is Charleston County's Economic Development Director, and he knows a lot about the business park that we call the Palmetto Commerce Business Parkway. And it's a gorgeous piece of property that's recently been developed and in 2 phases, I believe. Mm-hmm. But what do roadways like this mean to the work that you do, Steve? Is it important that we have good roads? And I mean, are we spending those transportation sales tax dollars in a good way when you look at attracting businesses like we have over in the business park?
I would say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are. Any good business park starts with a great access, and that certainly exists in leaps and bounds out at Palmetto Commerce Park. As you mentioned, it began in earnest almost 10 years ago now, when the first segment of roadway was put in, which was just a 2-lane stretch. But that did open up the park. That did allow industrial recruitment to start in earnest in there. And at that point in time, around 2000, we landed the first tenant for the park, which was a Canadian truck company. Oh. And that same building, occupied by that Canadian truck company, later came to be the site for Daimler vans as they exist today.
And there's several other businesses that have located in that area.
There are. It's frankly a who's who of corporate America and international business, with the likes of Cummins, which does the turbocharger engines there, Shimano, which is a Japanese bicycle gear, fishing tackle distributor. Some really top-notch tenants out there.
Since we're talking about the half-cent sales tax, which was passed, I think, in 2004 and then again in 2006, $1.3 billion over the next 25 years. That means a lot in new roads and resurfacing and all of those kinds of things. What does it mean to economic development?
Well, as I was saying about business parks, great access is what every business wants. And I think we saw evidence of the impact of that roadway extension just recently when we saw Boeing select Palmetto Commerce Park for its interiors center. That's the facility where the overhead bins and the galleys and the kitchen elements of the airplane will be produced, right there in Palmetto Park. And I think that's remarkable, with all the sites that were available in the Charleston region, that the company would focus on that park. But I think, frankly, it had to do with access, being only 8 miles from the final assembly plant, and being a very predictable, very risk-averse location to be in.
When you're talking to potential clients about coming to the Charleston area, and you want to attract them because you really want that business to come for job's sake and for all wonderful things that they bring to a community, how high of a priority would be good roads and access to their plants, rail and otherwise?
It's at the top of the heap. It's hard to say exactly what the number 1 through number 10 priorities for any given company would be. They certainly would vary from company to company, but you really can't even get started in a community that doesn't have a good road system. There's lots of cities across the United States that have been overrun by their own success and now have congestion and snarled roads, and those are places that might be chock full of business now, but they certainly won't be attracting it in the future if they don't get the corrections made. So a community that stays out ahead of its transportation needs is always going to finish first.
Palmetto Commerce Parkway runs all the way from Latson Road and heads all the way down to Ashley Phosphate and into that area. What's that supposed to do for business? Where are they going? What's the necessity?
Well, I think it does a couple of things. I think it opens up the whole Ashley Phosphate corridor for folks trying to head north in a way that hasn't been possible before due to the interstate and its limitations. I think it also makes every business in Palmetto Commerce Park that much closer to the airport, that much closer to the ports, that much closer to the interstate, in the sense that they can all now quickly empty down to Ashley Phosphate and on to I-26, for destinations going south. And that's bound to be great for any business that's locating out there.
Is there still room in the business park? I'm talking about Palmetto Commerce Parkway area for additional businesses?
Space? There are. There's to begin with, there's over 200 acres still left in Palmetto Commerce Park proper. And then the area where the road is being extended, of course, opens up a whole new corridor of potential sites in places like Ingleside, the Ingleside tract, the Collins tract, and all the other property leading down to Ashley Phosphate.
Do you have any idea as to how many jobs are out there, or potentially the number of jobs that can be created as a consequence of having a park that size?
You know, I would be guessing without pulling some data, but I think I recall that we've got at least 2,500 jobs in play out at the business park today with the current tenants, and certainly the potential for many more with that vacant acreage.
And there's still more room for building.
Still more room.
And so is it your job to go out and attract and bring these businesses back to that park, or who's doing all that?
That's exactly my purpose, and I do that with the help of not only my office, the Charleston County Economic Development Office, but we have some regional partners at the Charleston Regional Development Alliance, and we have some allies at the City of North Charleston and at the State Commerce Department in Columbia. So it's a team effort, and it's really, at this point in history, a well-oiled machine that knows how to go find business and introduce it to the Charleston area.
And that's so important. Also, diversity, it seems to me, would be very important, and it's a little frightening at times. I've heard young people say, well, the only jobs we can get are tourism positions or something connected to tourism, but not manufacturing, not blue collar, not white collar jobs. What's going on in that area? Why aren't we attracting some diversity here?
You know, I would argue that we are attracting diversity at this stage in the game. I began in my position about 18 years ago, and I think back when I first began, prior to the Navy base closure, it certainly could have been said that we were a town that was perhaps lacking in diversity of employment. But since 1995, with the efforts that the region's made to overcome the shipyard closure, you know, we've branched out. We've had a lot of good wins. I think the things I would point to specifically for you would be things like the Space and Air Warfare Command here, what that's meant to engineering positions and, you know, high-skill, white-collar positions in that area. Certainly the recent arrival of Southwest Airlines and the better air service we're going to see from that is going to add another dimension. The port continues to grow. Boeing and the incredible impact that Boeing will have in its full glory here. All those things, you know, give us more and more outlets for our young people to work. And I think the other thing that's interesting, we were recently cited as one of the places where the 20-somethings most want to come. One of the communities in the United States that really has some sizzle going on in terms of architectural careers, digital careers, internet-related companies. So there's a lot of effort in the downtown area and elsewhere in Charleston to attract those 20-somethings and launch some of those future positions.
Well, I had heard that we were listed among the most beautiful people in the country, so why not take all of the rest?
I would vote for that accolade as well.
Where do we go from here? What's going to happen over the next couple of years as far as you're concerned in economic development? What are you excited about?
You know, I am excited in general, and I can say that to you with the utmost sincerity. It's my job to say that no matter how things are going, but I can truthfully say to you that we've got a lot to be excited about. We're a city in the United States at this point in the nation's history that even with a terrible recession hanging over us, and don't get me wrong, there's been some damage done here with the recession. Certain sectors in our economy are hurting badly even now, but I will say that for a city our size in the United States at this point in time, we have got more to say grace over and more to be happy about than the next community. And some of the things I see coming up are the Clemson wind energy facility at the Navy base, what that can mean to our role in alternative energy. I see the growing significance of the Boeing facility and everything that will be added there at that facility as time goes on. I see the Space and Air Warfare Systems Command and the way it keeps growing here in Charleston. And you put all those elements together, and you've really got a lot more vibrant economy than the next city.
But you do think that we're coming back from the recession in a strong way?
I believe we're beginning to. I try to stay grounded with all the people that I talk to day to day. I'm always aware of the unemployment rate, which at this point is somewhere around 9.5%. That's a lot of unemployed Charlestonians. We won't be satisfied till we have that rate back down to its historical levels, and,
which was
about 5%. So we've got a ways to go with people being reemployed. Our construction industry is certainly in shambles. Our real estate market is hurting badly. So there's an awful lot of the folks that were employed related to housing who will be several more years coming out of the doldrums.
That was the area that was hit the most.
That was hit the hardest.
Yeah.
And that's true everywhere.
Yes.
But again, you know, we're always mindful of those folks and the suffering that's going on, even as we celebrate the good things.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
That's our Charleston County RoadWise program for today. We hope that you've gotten a lot out of it. After all, these are dollars that are being spent as a result of the voters of Charleston County. We'll see you next time, and if there's additional information that you would like to get, please don't hesitate to go to ccroadwise.org.